I'd like to go into more detail than the library research video did when it comes to Academic Search Complete, because that is the database that I would like for you to use during most of our in fact, all of the arguments. So we're just going to concentrate on Academic Search Complete right now. Now, the first essay that we're doing is the classical argument, and that will be your essay number one. It will be due on March 13th, which is the Sunday before spring break. So as we begin our research, let's go over the research portion and specifically the use of the database Academic Search Complete. Now notice that I have that in italics. Just always keep that in your mind. It's the name of a database, and it actually is a part of EBSCO. It's a little sub database under the big database. So, and we'll get into that later too, how you need to document that. But by now you've read chapter 11 of your textbook about understanding the different types of arguments, and they are to solve a problem. You could write an argument on how to assert a position, on inquiring about something, or you can write an article, an essay to prevail. And when I think of that, I think of the courtroom TV shows like Law and Order, where the prosecution just has to win at all costs. And sometimes they make a mistake and sometimes they don't. So that's probably the most common one that people want to do. But in this case today, with this one, and I'm going to be giving you some samples of my research to help you better understand how to do it. I actually chose the one to inquire. And when I explain my rationale, probably that will help you. This is how I came to it. And this is also a way that you might think about what it is that you want to talk about, because sometimes when I think of one thing, it leads me to thinking about something else, which I connect to something else. So my initial thought was I wanted to do book banning, because especially as an English teacher, that topic vexes me. Okay, I don't like books being banned from classrooms. And personally, I find it funny that the special interest groups that want to ban certain books are the same people who support Shakespeare's works. And little do they know that the Bard himself has comedies and tragedies that involve sex, racial prejudice, and yes, even venereal disease. So we'll just keep that quiet until people understand that you can't save everybody from seeing everything. I mean, I don't know. But that's what really bothers me. And I find very ironic that Shakespeare could be very raunchy. Voltaire can be, Chaucer can be, and yet, people don't pick on them yet. When there's nothing else to pick on, maybe they'll pick on that. So at first I started researching books that have been banned, and that they're the ones that are being banned from classrooms today, and many of which I have taught. I've allowed they were in my classroom. But as I continued the research, I kept seeing the term critical race theory. And I've heard it bandied around for at least 2 years. And I just noticed on TV that there's a Texas politician using critical race theory in his reelection campaign. What he's saying is that he's vowing to keep it out of classrooms and even because it is taught in universities. It actually came from a university, which we'll go into in my research. I didn't know it at the time, but he's going to punish professors who teach it. And it actually has to do with their, somehow he's tying it into their tenure, where they lose their tenure after 6 years or something. It's, the waters are muddy there, but you know what? I find the waters muddy when he talks about critical race theory, because it sounds like a cuss word, okay, or a cuss term, I guess you would call it. So I have been wondering, what is critical race theory? Now, again, remember how I got to this is by looking up book banning, and it did bring in history books and the way history is written and how critical race theory will alter that. And it just seemed to me to be a different way of teaching history. So what I'm thinking is, now more than ever in my adult life, I have seen so much polarization between Republicans and Democrats, where something's a Democratic thing or something's a Republican thing. I'm hoping that in your lifetime you can swing it back over to seeing both sides, because it just seems now that the Republicans are far right and Democrats are going to the far left. So anyway, but somehow the term critical race theory has become a term that's being used in elections, and mainly by what I've seen by Republicans and Fox News and all of this, to talk about how our nation is just going to pot, basically. So what I wanted to do is, and this is where most people are, and in my research, I found out that Tucker Carlson of Fox News was talking about how horrible critical race theory was, and later came back and said, you know what, I really don't understand what it is. But I'm thinking of, I don't know how many million viewers he has, but because he thinks it's bad, they think it's bad, and that's where they leave it. This is where we come in. Hopefully you're the kind of person who searches things on your own. I certainly am. I'm not going to be told what I believe, or just because I believe what somebody says, maybe I'll believe them and maybe I won't, but they're not going to, just by what they say, they're not going to change my view on something. So I decided that I wanted to know more about the critical race theory and wanted to start a search of my own. And so thus you will be seeing me researching critical race theory. So I did the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and thought about who started it, what exactly is it? Now that's the big question. When did it first hit the educational scene? Where did it first hit? Where did it gain its roots? Why was it created? How is it to be taught? And during the inquiry, I'm going to be seeking a better understanding of this controversial issue and come to my own conclusions. And that's what I want you to do. So again, I want to tell you, I'm doing an argument that will inquire. It's an inquiry is what I guess I would call it, an inquiry. So go to Academic Search Complete, and this is the link to go there. Get there however you want to. Go to eConnect. And you can, once you get to this page, you will click on libraries. When you click on libraries, this page will come up, and you want to go to Academic Search Complete. So click on that. Sorry about that. So I went over here and I typed in critical race theory. Now, I want you to notice that before I even finished the word theory, it brought this drop down in. Critical race theory, well, that's a very, very broad term. Critical race in education, an introduction in schools, critical race theory in education, critical race theory in higher education, critical race theory in education, in K through 12 education, and the key writings that formed the movement, and the ban. So what I chose was through K-12. Now later, I'm going to come back and I'm going to look at why it's been banned. So I chose critical race theory K through 12 education. And I look at my results and there are 3,201, and that's a great deal of them. Now over here, I've done nothing to reset my parameters date wise. I want to, because it is such a new, it's such a new term to me. Maybe it's not to you, but I'll go back 5 years. So I'm going to change this. Also, I'm going to limit it. I want to take out newspapers, everything, but well, actually that could be a good one. But for right now, I'm going to just check academic journals and magazines. So I'm going to go over here. Sorry, I had to make it smaller. But if you notice, I changed this to 2017. Okay, then I only clicked academic journals and magazines. And you'll notice that it goes down to over 1,000. So that's better. And as I go through these, I'm going to see some of them will have to do with other countries. And I would have used the Boolean search and put not other countries, but I don't think it would have brought, because it's not just Russia, it's not just Germany, it's other places where it has taken place or is taking place. So I just went ahead and just left it the way it is. And so as I looked at these, and as Professor Corbin said in the library media, so in the media video, she said that sometimes you're not going to find all of your articles on the first page. So don't feel badly about going to second and third and fourth and so on and so on. But right here, you can barely see it. I'll show it to you better here in a minute. But I saw curriculum conflict and critical race theory. So of course I want to go to that, see what it says. Okay, so I click on it because I noticed it had a PDF and an HTML. Remember, the HTML looks like an essay, but it also will read it for you in an American accent, an Australian accent, or a British accent, whatever you please. But the PDF looks like it's been scanned out of a magazine. So that's what I would prefer to use. So I click on PDF full text search. And so this is the PDF that it brings up. Okay, and it looks like it's been scanned from a magazine. So it talks about these different things. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through it before I even email it to myself and see if there are at least maybe 2 or 3 things. Maybe there's only one, but is there anything that I think is important in this inquiry that I'm doing that would go toward it, or something that I didn't think of in my inquiry that would probably help in my quest to find out about critical race theory. So I go through it and I decide that I want to use it. And notice it has 8 pages, and I can show that to you later, but you can find that out when you, well, let me go back and do that. No, you really can't see it, but you notice on another one, it shows how many pages there are. So you can kind of see that 8 pages is nothing. Some may be more, some might be up to 16 pages. But what I'm going to do here is I am going to email this to myself. So I'm going over to the envelope here, going to click on it. I'm going to put my email here. I'm going to enter my email there. I'm only going to ask for the PDF. All right, so, and then I'm going to click send. Now, when it comes to me, it will look like this in my inbox, okay? It will say support@ebsco.com. So, and sometimes it takes a little while to get there, but I'm going to click on that. And it's going to show this in the section of my, or in the message section of my email. So it will say this, but remember what Mrs. Corbin said, Professor Corbin, she says right here, you have your works cited. I'm sorry. You have your works cited. So I would copy that and paste it to a Microsoft Word document. I would just do that for right now. And you're going to keep a running list of your works cited on there because you will need it later. And this will save you from going back and forth. So have a Word document out and just copy and paste that to it. Okay, and then this, you can actually click on the article there and you get started. Now, what I did is, here is my Word document, and I copied and pasted it exactly the way it was in the email. But one thing that I want you to start doing when you first paste it into this page, I want you to go to EBSCOhost. I don't want you to highlight it. I'm just showing you. And I want you to change it to Academic Search Complete in italics. Then I will show you later what you're going to change it to, because this is going to have to, the font, the spacing, and the paragraphing, the indentation will have to change as well. But just go ahead and change that to Academic Search Complete, because you're going to put it in several places, but at least you've got it down and you don't have to remember to do it again. Okay, so this is the article. Okay, so you've downloaded the article over here to your computer. Go ahead and give it a name and save it. Now, if I were you, this is a good time to open a folder. You can put classical argument, or in my case, I might put critical race theory in my Google Drive as a folder and drop all of these in there, all of my articles in there, and keep them all in one place. Some of y'all have Google Drives as well, or other cloud storage. So I'm going to leave that up to you, or you can leave it on your computer, but I would put it in a folder because you're going to have several of these files. Okay, so that's that on the Academic Search Complete. And what we did is we searched just one article for critical race theory. And as you will see later, I will have several articles on it. And I will show you how to use Noodle tools, which is something that you've been given by being a Dallas College student, and how you will document things there, and it will keep a running total of, I'm sorry, it will keep all of the documents safely stored for you. Okay, so if you have any questions, again, as always, please email me and I'll be happy to go over it with you.